Hi, this is Math 4, weekly lesson number 5 that got passed in this week. There are some functions on the back part of the weekly lesson on page 2 that some people had questions with, so here we go. This is part A. This is a linear function, which means that we need a slope and a y-intercept. So first we're going to find the slope. We need the coordinates of the 2 points. This right here means that the point 0, -5 is one of the points. In function notation, that's simply that when you put 0 in, you get -5 out. So 0 is the x, and -5 is the y. The other point that we have from f of 4 equals 7 is, of course, 4, 7. So finding slope just involves taking the difference in the y values, so that's 7 minus -5, which of course is the same as adding a positive, over the difference of the x values, so that's 4 minus 0. Please notice that I started with this point over here because the numbers were bigger. So 7 minus -5 on the top, that's the difference in the y's, and 4 minus 0 on the bottom, that's the difference in the x's. And what that comes out to be is 7 plus 5 is 12, and then on the bottom 4 minus 0 is 4, and that improper fraction reduces to 3. So now we know that the slope is 3, and we've got y equals 3x plus b, where b is the y-intercept. 3 is the slope. It's multiplied by x. That's how you know which one's the slope. And b, in this case, we just don't know what b is yet. But we do know that when we put 0 in for x, we'll get -5 out for y. And they were tricky here. This point already is the y-intercept. Notice that when x equals 0, the point y equals -5 is going to be right on the y-axis, so that's where it intercepts. That means that b equals -5, and here's the function that we get. Y equals 3x minus 5. And that's the answer to part A. This is part B. Again, first we have to find the slope, but notice that they don't give us g of 0 here. That means we're going to have to do a little bit more work to find the y-intercept, but it's not too tough. The slope, m, is the difference in the... You know what? Let's do this one with a table. X is always on the top, and y is on the bottom. We know that when x equals -5, y equals -1, and since -5 is way lower than 3, let's plug these numbers into a table and see what we can get. So this is -5, -4, -3, etc. Hope I have enough room. Just made it. There we go. Now we know some of the values. We know that when g is 3, when g of 3 is -5, that means that when x equals 3, this is -5. And when g equals -5, when x equals -5, then g of -5 is -1. So we'll put that in over here. Notice that as we go in this direction, the values of y are getting smaller. So we have a negative slope here. Let's see if we can figure out what that negative should be. The difference between -5 and +3 is 8. And the difference between -1 and -5 is -4. So the slope is going to be -4 over 8. The difference in the y values goes on top. The difference in the x values goes on the bottom. So that reduces to, I believe, negative 1/2. I'll use that as negative 0.5. And let's see, so this is negative 1.5, negative 2, negative 2.5, and this should fit. Negative 3, negative 3.5, negative 4, negative 4.5, and hey look, the next one would be negative 5. So we're right about the slope. The slope is negative 1/2. And here, right here, when x equals 0, y is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is negative 3.5. So let's just turn this into a function. Y equals negative 0.5x, that's the slope, minus 3.5. And there's the answer. This next one is a quadratic function and is thus a little bit harder. The quadratics, though, all have a form something like this. Oops, I guess I want black ink. H of x equals x minus something times x minus something else. We just got to figure out what those somethings are. Right here, it tells us that when h is 4, then y equals 0. And that's our clue right there, because we want to know for what values of x can I plug into these functions, and the answer comes out to be 0. Well, when you multiply 0 times anything, you get 0, and that's what we're looking for. So in this case, if we put a 4 here, this is x minus 4, and when we take 4 minus 4, we get 0. 0 times anything over here is going to give us 0. So we know that the h of 4 equals 0. That's why this is x minus 4, because what value would go here to make this part of the expression 0? Well, 4, of course. And there's the 4, and there's the 0. That means that the other one is going to be 1. So when we multiply this out, using the distributive property, we get x squared minus 4x minus 1x, which I'll just write as minus x, and then negative 4 times negative 1, of course, is positive 4. Combine like terms right there, and we get x squared minus 5x plus 4. This right here is a quadratic expression in standard form, which is what we're looking for. We figured out what the zeros are, but we've got another constraint here, another requirement. We know that when we plug in 0 for x, we have to get out 4. And this one's easy, because if I put in 0 here for this x squared and 0 here for this x, this is 0 plus 4. Let me just illustrate that a little bit. I've got 0 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 4. I don't know why I need that parenthesis there. I don't. And that equals 0 plus 4, which is 4. So our other constraint here, that when we plug in 0, we get out 4, that's true. There would be a thing with a multiplier, something, something else. We'll worry about that some other time. So this is h of x. h of x equals x squared minus 5x plus 4. This last one's just a little bit harder, because all exponential equations have to have a starting value and a rate of change, and we have to do a little bit more work to figure that out. We're going to start with the general form. Again, I think I want red ink, black ink. Y equals a multiplied by b raised to the x power. A is the starting value. B is the rate of change. They give us the starting value. The starting value is whatever, when you plug in x equals 0, you get out this for y. Anything raised to the 0 power, perhaps you remember, equals 1. So b to the 0, when we plug in 0 for x, b raised to the 0 power is going to equal 5. So here's part of the expression so far. But we still don't know what b is. However, we have another clue. We know that when we plug in 1 for x, we have to get out 15. So let's see what that looks like. Y equals 5 times b raised to the first power has to equal 15. What we're going to do is divide both sides by 5. And that gives us b to the first equals 3. If you recall, anything to the first power is just itself. So I'm going to write in b equals b to the first. That has to equal 3. So now we have the value of b. I'll come up here and write it. Our expression is y equals 5 times 3 to the x. So just let me know what else I can help you with. By the way, I'll be posting the answer key for this weekly lesson on the Edmodo site and the class website sometime soon.